Story 1: The Woman in the Window. A few years ago, something really strange happened to my best friend and me. I was 15 back then, sleeping over at his place after a long night of horror movies. We were still full of adrenaline and wanted to do something thrilling. Not far from his neighborhood stood an old block of abandoned houses that were set to be demolished in a few days. The area was fenced off with huge signs that read, "Do not enter." Of course, being teenagers, that warning only made us more curious. We sneaked over with a digital camera, thinking we'd take some eerie photos for fun. Every house was boarded tight, doors and windows sealed, but one caught our eye. On the top floor, a window wasn't fully covered. My friend raised the camera and snapped a shot through it. We didn't see anything unusual at the time. Later that night, when we looked through the pictures, we froze. In that window stood a pale woman in a brown raincoat, long black hair hanging over her shoulders. Her expression looked heartbreakingly sad, but we hadn't seen anyone there when we took the photo, and the house was sealed shut. When we went back the next day, it was still boarded from top to bottom. That photo still haunts me. Story 2: Ayano, the babysitter. This story belongs to my friend from Japan. I'll call him Rito. It happened when he was around 12 years old. Rito was a bright kid, friendly, charming, and because of that, he had a few admirers. But one girl took her obsession too far. Her name was Ayano. She was 17 and lived down the street. At first, she seemed harmless. She'd send him little messages, things like "sleep well" or "did you eat today?" But soon the messages got strange. They turned into things like, "I think your sister's hungry," right when his little sister started crying. It creeped him out so badly that he stopped using his phone and social media. But that didn't stop Ayano. Rito's mom was often away, so babysitters looked after him. One day, a new babysitter arrived. It was Ayano. She acted sweet, almost too sweet, and soon became close to his mom. One afternoon at school, Ayano told Rito that his mom had left for a week and wanted him to stay at her house. Against his better judgment, he agreed. At first, everything seemed normal, but soon Ayano began playing strange games. She'd blindfold him, leave him alone in silence for hours, or make him pretend they were husband and wife. 5 days passed. One night while she was at her part-time job, Rito turned on the TV and saw his own face on the news. It was a missing child report. Before he could even react, the screen went black. Ayano was standing behind him, holding the remote. He screamed and ran, breaking free just long, enough to open a window and call for help. A couple walking by heard him and called the police. They found him tied up in her bedroom, blindfolded, trembling. Rito was rescued, but Ayano was taken away. He moved to Australia afterward and never saw her again. Even today, he shakes when he hears her name. Story 3: The Dancing Man. About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major US city. I was a night owl and often went for long walks after midnight. For 4 years, nothing strange ever happened. Until one Wednesday night around 1:30 a.m., I was walking near a quiet park when I saw him, a tall, lanky man dancing at the end of the street. His movements were odd, like a mix between a waltz and a slow march, with each step ending in a weird nod. I thought he was drunk and moved to the edge of the sidewalk to let him pass. But the closer he came, the more unsettling it became. He was wearing an old suit, moving with eerie grace. His eyes were wide and wild. His mouth stretched into a painful, unnatural smile. I decided to cross the street, but when I reached the other side and looked back, he had stopped dancing. He was standing perfectly parallel to me, staring upward, but facing my direction. I turned and walked faster. When I looked back again, he was gone. Relief washed over me until I saw him. He had crossed the street and was now crouched down, closer, watching me. Then he began moving, tiptoeing toward me in exaggerated, cartoonish steps. fast like he was sneaking up on me. I froze. My throat went dry. He stopped just a few feet away, that smile still glued to his face. I stammered, "What the hell do you want?" But it came out as a whisper. He didn't answer, just turned slowly and started dance walking away. I watched until he faded into the distance. Then he stopped again. He wasn't leaving. He was coming back, this time running. I bolted, sprinting down the main road until I reached light and traffic. He was gone, but his smile has stayed with me ever since. Story 4. The photos. In the mid-'80s, my mom worked as a cleaner in rural Australia. She often took jobs in large empty farmhouses. One day, she got a call from an elderly woman asking her to clean a farmhouse far out in the countryside. The woman didn't want to meet in person and told my mom she'd leave the keys under the mat. The pay was unusually high. When Mom arrived, the long dirt driveway gave her chills. It felt too quiet. She found the key and started cleaning. An hour later, she heard the back door shut. She froze. No one was supposed to be there. After a few tense minutes, she convinced herself it was nothing and continued cleaning. When she entered the last bedroom, she stopped cold. The bed was covered in black and white photos. As she got closer, her stomach dropped. Every single photo was of her, taken at different houses she'd cleaned. Some from windows, some from behind fences. She grabbed the house phone and called the police. They later found out the homeowner had been taking photos of her for months. We moved away soon after. Story 5. The Man Under the Bed. About a year and a half ago, I had just moved into my first apartment. One evening, while talking on the phone with a friend, I went to check my mail. The door locked automatically behind me. When I got back, I sat on the bed, sorting through letters. My phone slipped out of my hand and rolled under the bed. I knelt down to grab it and froze. There was someone lying under my bed. He was facing away from me, perfectly still, his back toward me. I forced myself to sound calm. "Hey, I'm just gonna take a shower," I said into the phone, pretending nothing was wrong. I walked into the bathroom, locked the door, turned on the shower, then quietly opened the window and jumped out. From across the street, I called the police. When they arrived, they found the man still inside, standing outside my bathroom door, holding one of my kitchen knives. He'd slipped in while I was getting the mail. That night still haunts me. Story 6. The Masked Stranger. When I was 21, my girlfriend and I were staying in my family's old mobile home during a snowstorm. The nearest neighbor was miles away. The only thing protecting us from the cold outside was a thin wooden door. We were watching TV when my girlfriend said she heard something outside. At first, I brushed it off, probably a deer. But then I heard it too, metal scraping, coming from the small shed out back. I turned off the TV and peered through the blinds. Footprints, not animal tracks, shoe prints leading toward the backyard. When I opened the back curtain, my girlfriend screamed. A man was standing there in the dark, dressed in all black, wearing a Guy Fawkes mask, staring straight at us. I shut the blinds and grabbed my grandfather's hunting rifle. We barricaded the door with cinder blocks and hid in the bedroom. Moments later, the door shook violently. He was trying to break in. After a few minutes, it stopped. We didn't move or sleep. By morning, he was gone, but new footprints led from the house into the woods. We never went back. Story 7. Grandma's House. When I was younger, I visited my grandma's house every afternoon to help with chores. One day I arrived and noticed her door was unlocked, which was odd. She was always paranoid about keeping it locked. I heard drawers opening upstairs. "Grandma," I called out, walking toward her room. Just as I reached her door, it slammed shut. Then my phone rang. It was my grandma, calling from her senior club across town. She told me not to come over today. My blood ran cold. I whispered, "Okay, Grandma, I'll stay downstairs," grabbed a knife from the kitchen, and called 911. When the police arrived, they kicked open the bedroom door, just in time to hear a gunshot. They found her neighbor hiding inside with a knife. He'd broken in to rob her. If I'd gone in first, I'd be dead. Story 8. The closet eyes. About a year ago, when I still lived with my parents, strange things started happening in my room. At night, I'd hear my closet door creak open on its own. I'd shut it, but hours later, it would open again. Then came the noises above, the air vent rattling, faint scratching. My dad didn't believe me, said I was imagining things. The third night, I decided to stay awake and watch. At around 2 a.m., the closet creaked open, slowly. I turned on my lamp, glanced up, and screamed. Through the air vent, two wide eyes were staring back at me. My parents burst in, thinking I was crazy. But I know what I saw. I'll never sleep with my closet open again. Story 9. The Thing in the Lake. I live in the Poconos with my wife and 2 kids. About a quarter-mile from our house is a small private lake. We'd go there all the time until last week. It was late afternoon, the kids were playing in the shallow water, and everything felt peaceful. Then I noticed something, a black, round shape floating near them. It was moving closer. I ran into the water and pulled my kids out. When I turned back, the shape was gone. That night after dinner, curiosity got the better of me. I took a flashlight and went back to the lake. I was shining the light across the surface when I heard a huge splash. Then I saw it, a human-shaped figure, dripping wet, long black hair covering its face, standing knee-deep in the water facing me. I dropped the flashlight and ran all the way home. That lake still sits just a quarter-mile away from our house, and sometimes at night, I swear I can hear splashing. Story 10. The Man in the Closet. My wife and I had just come home from dinner when we noticed the front door was wide open. I told her to wait outside and went in, shotgun in hand. I searched every room. Nothing. No signs of a break-in. The police came, looked around, and said the intruder must have fled. We tried to sleep. In the middle of the night, my wife screamed. She was staring at the closet. For just a second, I saw a man's face peek out before the door slammed shut. I cocked the shotgun and shouted for him to come out. Instead, he bolted, straight out the front door. He was never caught. I don't know what he wanted, but I know one thing. If I hadn't had that gun, neither of us would be here. Story 11. The Voice Behind the Wall. I used to live alone in a small basement apartment. It wasn't much, but it was cheap. A single bedroom, small kitchen, and thin concrete walls that always felt damp no matter what season it was. At night, I'd sometimes hear faint noises through the wall, like tapping or what sounded like whispers. I assumed it was just plumbing or my imagination. Then one night, I woke up at 3 a.m. to something different, a voice, soft, shaky, whispering my name. Eli. I froze in bed, staring at the dark wall next to me. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but then it came again. Eli, help me. It was coming from inside the wall, directly behind my bed. My heart started racing. I grabbed my phone flashlight and pressed my ear against the wall. I could hear faint breathing. I called my landlord the next morning, told him someone might be trapped behind the wall. He didn't believe me but came to check. When he peeled back a small piece of drywall, we both gagged. The smell was unbearable. Inside the wall cavity was a narrow crawl space, and inside it, the remains of a woman. Her fingernails were broken, like she had tried to claw her way out. The landlord told me later that the previous tenant, a young woman, had gone missing a year before I moved in. I moved out that same night. Story 12. The Night Watcher. When I was 19, I worked as a security guard at a small medical storage facility. It wasn't glamorous, just sitting in a booth, watching cameras and walking around every hour to check locks. The place was quiet at night until winter came. Around 2 a.m. one night, I noticed something strange on the monitors. In camera 3, the back gate, there was a man standing just outside the fence. He was tall, wearing a dark coat and a white mask, completely still. At first, I thought it was a prank. I went out with my flashlight, but when I got there, no one was around. No footprints in the snow. When I came back inside, I checked the camera again. He was closer this time, standing right at the edge of the gate. I stared at the monitor for what felt like forever. Then suddenly, the screen glitched, static flashing, and he was gone. An hour later, as I was making my final rounds, I saw movement behind one of the storage units. Something ducked behind the corner. I shouted, "Security! Who's there?" But there was no answer. When I got closer, I saw something written on the frost of the metal door. "I see you too." I quit the next morning. The company told me later the cameras recorded nothing that night. No figure, no glitches, no footprints. Just me, staring at the screen, talking to no one. If these stories sent chills down your spine, imagine what's still out there in the dark. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed the scares, subscribe for more true horror tales every week, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a nightmare. And hey, if you've ever experienced something unexplainable, drop your story in the comments below. Who knows? Your story might be featured in the next video.